So here we go. Today is President's Day and the post offices are closed. I forgot until I went to try to get something shipped. But anyway, excuse me. So I was up bright and early this morning doing my thing and saw a post by Rockstar Flipper. He is somebody that I watch regularly among some other of my favorites, but he's one of them. And he was talking about a TikToker. Her name is Full On Karen, which he did show her TikTok and what we're going to talk about in his video. And we're not going to call her a Karen. That just is probably her name. So the gist of what happened is she spent a lot of money and like over $10,000 in a course to learn how to do Amazon sales, okay? How to sell things on Amazon. And then she contacted a manufacturer and produced these bags. They were bags that you can attach to a stroller, which is an ingenious idea, right? It was a great idea. And it was a private label thing, so it was her product. And she was selling these on Amazon. And I don't know how much, but it sounded like they were not cheap, okay? They were not a cheap product. And the idea, personally, I think she had a great idea, right? So here's where the problem lays. And this is her complaint. And, well, she had two complaints. She blamed the company that she took this course from to learn how to sell on Amazon. But then she also kind of blames Amazon and the buyers for the returns, okay? And so basically what happened is she sold a bunch of these, and I guess probably over the holidays while people were traveling, they were using them. And now that the holidays are over, she's getting returns. And so she's very clear about how the return process works and how it affects the buyers. I mean, not the buyers, the sellers. So in a nutshell, when you buy something and you have free returns, somebody has to pay for the shipping label, right? And that is the seller. So even with me, if you buy something off of my eBay stores and you want to return it, I typically pay for the return label. So not only do you lose the cost of, in her case, manufacturing, whatever it cost her to have her product, but then you also have to pay for the shipping to have it sent back to you. And there's a lot of other things that go into that too, because there are fees. I don't know if you're not somebody who resells, then you maybe don't realize that there's fees associated with these online sales. There's a cost to doing business with Amazon, a cost for the seller to do business with Amazon or even eBay and Poshmark and all the other places that we go to buy stuff. But her biggest complaint is that she was not taught how to avoid she called it a scam, and I think it kind of is a scam. I'll go into that a little bit more in a minute. For people who buy things on Amazon, use them for whatever they need to use them for, and then return them. Which, yeah, I have to tell you, I think it's a scam too. That's not right. It's not right to do that. If you buy something, you own it, and you should keep it, and not do that to the seller. You wouldn't be able to get, well, whatever. It's not right. It is a form of theft, and I agree with her on that. So my own personal experience with Amazon, let me go over that a little bit. So I used to sell on Amazon way back when it was just books. And I actually did pretty good. It wasn't that hard. You put the ISBN number in. That's for the, what is that? it has to do, shoot, I can't remember what the ISBN number is, but it's the number that designates the book and the writer and all that. Library of Congress. It's registered with the Library of Congress. So you put that in, and you sell your book, and you ship it out. There was no fulfillment by Amazon, FBA. There was no FBA at the time, and I did okay. And they only sold books, and it was, you know, just a little extra side money for me back in the day. But it wasn't something I was doing regularly back then either. I was just trying to get rid of some excess books and maybe make a little pocket change. Then, you know, I put some things aside. I did some other things in my life. Meanwhile, Amazon is still growing. And a few years back, when I was getting more serious about reselling, I did try to get into selling on Amazon in a more serious way. Well, it had evolved by then, and so for me, these are my problems. I didn't make any sales. Maybe one. I was selling health and beauty products. There were I was buying things in bulks. They were shelf pulls. I bought them through Wholesale Ninja, I think it was, which in and of itself is not bad. It just didn't work for me. I'm going to put it that way, because I know that there are other sellers that are doing fantastic with purchasing from them, which they do actually do a really good job of packaging, and you get a pretty good variety of things when you buy bulk. But there are things that you cannot sell on Amazon unless you get ungated. And I never did get ungated on certain things, you know, even though I went through the process, and I gave it a good, I think, 6 months, and none of my things were opened, and I was, you know, regularly selling them there. So I just decided between that, and this is my personal thing, you do you, because I'm going to talk about a friend of mine in a second. You do you, and if it works for you, that's great. I don't fault you for it. You know, we're each doing our own thing. It just wasn't for me. So I quit doing that, and I just stuck with Poshmark and Mercari and eBay and what was working for me, and that was the end of that. But I have a friend who he sells almost exclusively on Amazon, and I guess it was a couple years ago. He had gotten some returns on these electric blankets. They were mostly Sunbeam, and I bought a bunch of them from him, and I mean like several hundred from him, and they came back in all different kinds of ways. So some of them were still in the box unopened, some of them were in the box but were open, some of the boxes were damaged, some of them actually came back to him in poly bags, and then some were actually just loose in boxes and the cords weren't even matched up. And so what happened was, you know, my agreement with him is I'm just going to buy this whole thing, okay? A whole lot of blankets. They were things that came to him. He didn't even go through them, none of that. So I was going to buy them, and I couldn't sell them as new, you know, because of the condition of the packaging. Packaging was damaged on probably 3/4 of them. There were very few that the packaging wasn't damaged. And found out that, oh, people are so crummy, some of them. I started getting complaints and returns. Like, people were buying them up, and I was doing pretty good for a while. But then, of course, you know, it takes a little while, and then the complaints start coming back, and people were complaining about the condition of some of the blankets. Not all of them, but enough of them for me to be like, what the heck is going on? So, you know, I would take the return, and when they would come back, these are supposed to be new, just returns. They were not used blankets. They were not supposed to be used blankets. And they would come back, and this was particular. They had like a Sherpa. One side was like a buffalo check, and the other side was like a Sherpa. And you could tell, like, it was so blatantly obvious that these blankets have been used and washed in a washing machine. Like, you know how Sherpa is when it's brand new, it's kind of soft and fuzzy looking, and then when you wash it, it gets kind of clumpy. And Sherpa also has a tendency, especially like with linens and blankets and things like that, it holds lint balls, you know, and that's what these things look like. And it was very obvious that these people had returned a used item and got their money back for whatever reason, you know, or there were pieces missing from it where, you know, the blanket might be there and the power cord isn't. They were electric blankets. I didn't make that clear, you know. So he had taken a loss and was trying to recoup some of his money back, and for what I paid for them, I think he just recouped his cost, really. But I lost money, you know, and I'm not blaming him because, like he said, he didn't go through any of it. He just didn't have time. But, you know, he would have lost all that. And I'm talking, I think there was like 500 of them. I don't know. There was a couple hundred. I can't remember now. It's been a couple years. There was about 500, I'm going to estimate, that I bought. And so, I mean, this really, really happens when, and I'm not encouraging this either. So if you're somebody that does that, please stop doing that. That is so wrong. That is so wrong. It's not nice to do that, okay? It's not nice, and you're hurting somebody by doing it. You think you're not, you are. You're hurting somebody just like me, just like my friend, and just like this lady who posted her video, okay? So, the point of all this is, there's 2 points that I want to make. The first thing is, in retail, you're going to have what they call shrinkage. It's called shrinkage, but basically it's theft. Okay, it's going to happen. It's not always theft. I should take that back. Sometimes it's things get damaged or, you know, stale, and people don't want to buy them anymore, that kind of thing. But it's called shrinkage. So it's when your inventory doesn't move or it disappears. Okay, that's what shrinkage is, and it happens. Okay, it's just part of the game, and this is a retail business. So that's the first thing, and if you come into this, you really need to be aware of that. And the second thing is, you really don't need to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on learning how to do this business. And I'll tell you why. Most of the platforms have a lot of information out there explaining to you how to do it without having to pay somebody, okay? So there's that. Like eBay, Poshmark, they have tons of resources available because they want you to succeed. They don't want you to fail. And keep in mind that when you sell something on these platforms, there may be a small fee to get it listed depending on the platform, but it doesn't do either you or that platform any good to have something just sitting there. You know, the object is to make the sales, right? So each place has their own information relative to how they work available to you. You may have to hunt and dig and peck and that kind of thing. Some of them are better than others about getting it out there, making it clear. But then there's tons of people like me, Rockstar Flipper, Lindy Glenn. There's tons of people. There's another one, I can't think of her name. She's an Asian lady, Poshmark. She sells a lot on Poshmark, and she's really good. And the Nurse Flipper on Tuesday nights, they have a live session where she usually has 3 more other guests. So there's 4 people, and they start at, it's either 8 or 9 Eastern time, and they run till about 10, and they discuss all the different things about being resellers. And there's, you know, the good thing about her show is, first of all, you can ask questions. Second of all, because she's got several different people together with her on her live stream, you're getting the perspective of different people who do different things, because we all can do a lot of different things. You may decide that you want to specialize in just pet products, and somebody else may only sell kids products, and somebody else may sell whatever they can get their hands on, so, and there's pros and cons to each and every different little aspect, and different sellers have different perspectives. It doesn't make one right or wrong, although some of them come across as being superior in their knowledge. That's not necessarily the case. You have to sometimes look past the attitude. But there is tons of information out there for free on YouTube where you can learn to do this. That's how I did it. If you have questions about shipping, specifically for eBay, there are tons and tons and tons of videos on how to ship on eBay and all the different ways that you can do it, and how to get your first sale on Poshmark, and how to do this and how to do that. And I only mentioned Poshmark, eBay, and Mercari, but there's actually other platforms out there and different ways to scale your business. And I'm just telling you, you do not need to pay all that exorbitant amount of money to learn how to sell on another platform. And she did make a point. She said she paid to learn. That was an expensive lesson for her. We all do that. There's been things that I've purchased, like for instance, the blankets. I probably did recoup my money overall in the end, but I didn't do it. He offered it to me again, and I declined for a variety of reasons. But yeah, sometimes you do pay to learn. And for me, in that particular instance, it was too much work to have to hand peck through each and every package to make sure it was complete and not a fraudulent return. I'm going to call it a fraudulent return. And sorry, it's allergy season for me. And then have to store everything, because they're bulky. It just wasn't worth it for me. That's just my story, But to each his own. Like I said, no judgment. You do you. Yeah. But I am telling you, there's no need for you to spend that kind of money. There's a ton of information out there, and I gave you some names. Go back through some of the older videos. Some of the people that I've named. Becky, the Poshmark lady. Her name is Becky. Becky. Cannot remember the name of her channel. It has Poshmark in it. Becky, maybe her name is, I don't know. If you're a regular reseller, you probably know who she is. She's pretty well known. And then if you want to learn about individual products, there's other people. Oh, you know who else? Lavender Clothesline. I watched a ton of her videos. Lavender Clothesline and Crazy Lamp Lady. They don't talk a lot about the business itself. They talk about the things that they sell. But Lavender Clothesline, her inventory system, yes, you can even learn about how to inventory your products, how to store your inventory so you can find it. I kind of follow her inventory system because it works better for me than some of the other systems that people have out there. I don't know if she's going to keep it the same or not. She's actually in the process of moving. So she sold her house and she stores everything in her basement, or she used to. I don't know what she's going to do in the future. But yeah, she's moving. So we'll see what her new setup is. They're moving to Florida. So I don't think she's moving from Pennsylvania to Florida. And I don't think they have a lot of basements in Florida. So I don't know what they're doing. I have no idea. But we'll see. That's to come. But anyway, anything you want to know about reselling in general, you can learn on YouTube. Okay, even if it's things that you want to learn about, like selling glass or selling clothes or selling, specific things to look out for, to learn about. You can learn that on YouTube. You don't need to pay that kind of money. I'm just saying. I hope this is helpful. I kind of feel bad for this girl. I really do, actually.